Hello and welcome everyone to the latest episode in the Enqbator Think Tank webinar series. Today we're excited to be able to bring you an encore presentation of the recent Progress Sitefinity Exceed De-Expectations Masterclass presentation entitled Digital Transformation from Vision to Reality, featuring Sujal Raju, Enqbator's founder and Chief Technology Officer, Matthew Majeski, Managing Director, Chief Marketing and Digital Officer at the Henry Ford, and Filomena Napolitano, Manager of Digital Operations at the Henry Ford. The Henry Ford, located in Dearborn, Michigan, is an internationally recognized cultural destination that brings the past forward by immersing visitors in the stories of ingenuity, resourcefulness, and innovation that helped shape America. A national historic landmark with an unparalleled collection of artifacts from 300 years of American history, the Henry Ford is a force for sparking curiosity and inspiring tomorrow's innovators. More than 1.7 million visitors annually experience the Henry Ford's four venues: Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation, Greenfield Village, the Ford Rouge Factory Tour, and the Benson Ford Research Center. At the end of today's webinar presentation, we'll have a Q&A session, so feel free to send your questions in through the Q&A feature of the webinar. And now, please enjoy our presentation with Sujal, Matt, and Filomena.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're excited to be here with you. I'm Matt Majeski. I'm the Chief Marketing and Digital Officer at the Henry Ford. And we are here to talk to you about digital transformation and really our digital transformation journey from when we started off the planning process and then into kind of how we turned everything into reality, a little bit of an insight into the implementation and where we're going next. And so I wanted to introduce my colleagues. Again, I'm Matt Majeski. I'm Chief Marketing and Digital Officer at the Henry Ford.
Filomena Napolitano. I'm the Digital Marketing Operations Manager at the Henry Ford.
Hi, everyone. This is Sujal Raju. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Enqbator, the digital partner for the Henry Ford.
So we just wanted to provide a little bit of context of who we are. And so I'm representing, obviously, the Henry Ford. And so just to dig in, the Henry Ford, we're a cultural destination and educational institution that's based in Dearborn, Michigan, which is just outside of Detroit. Our institution was founded by Henry Ford in 1929, and it features a beautiful 250-acre campus that is home to four venues. So we have the Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation. We have Greenfield Village, which is an outdoor museum. We have Ford Rouge Factory Tour, which takes guests inside an actual manufacturing plant that builds the F-150 truck, and the Benson Ford Research Center. Each of these venues welcomes a total of 1.8 million guests annually and immerses them in stories of ingenuity, resourcefulness, and innovation as told through the lens of our 26 million artifact deep collection.
Introducing Enqbator as a company that provides digital solutions for businesses since 2011. We specialize in Sitefinity CMS and also developing custom business applications for large to mid-sized businesses. We've been in business for about 11 years. And altogether, our leadership team has experience in healthcare, judicial, nonprofits, financial fields for about 25 years.
So today we're going to take you kind of through the journey that we've gone through at the Henry Ford, I would say over the last 7-8 years. And so we're going to take you through just a real briefly, the journey from a planning strategy roadmap development perspective. And then Sujal and Phil will get a little more into the implementation as we've gone through that journey. And then we'll talk a little bit briefly about kind of the success metrics that we've seen as a result of the transformational work that we've and journey that we've been on. So the opportunity in front of us was large when I joined the institution in 2013. Our leadership had a vision of really trying to transform what it means to be a museum by providing context to the visit, leveraging digital technology, and then leveraging digital technology to get outside of our four walls, to extend our mission, to really reinforce our sustainability as we moved forward into the future. And so that was our task. And the challenges were many when we looked at things. And so we had a very archaic digital infrastructure. So there were 40 plus sites and microsites, none of which were mobile responsive. There wasn't a unified site search, of course, across all of those. Many of those were not even content management systems. And so as you can imagine, the job to maintain those was extremely laborious, and I would honestly say impossible. And so a lot of the sites sat there without any updates for years. And so we knew right away, I mean, that just wasn't, one, it wasn't something that was sustainable for us, and it wasn't delivering the impact and the reach as a result of the fragmented ecosystem that we had. The other thing is the digital artifacts were not searchable. We were putting them up there, but they weren't getting the exposure and the reach and the impact that we were desiring. And then the other challenge is, as everyone probably knows, is digital transformation isn't just about technology, it's about organizational transformation too. And so that was something that we knew we needed to tackle right away. So the planning started, and I will say this is something that I think was a beginning recipe for our success, because you'll see, number one, we really took the time up front. We wanted to move fast, but we knew that we needed to really understand what we were dealing with, what was the current state, and we knew that we needed to develop a robust strategy, vision, and blueprint. And so we took a long time doing that. I would say the entire planning process that we went through, and I'll get into a few more details of what was involved in that, was about a year. And so as we developed the strategy, I think one of the critical elements was sharing it. And when I say share, and share more, I mean, that really is a reality. When I talk about the kind of cultural transformation or organizational transformation, a lot of this was new, especially for our organization. And so we invested a lot of time in sharing the strategy and sharing it as we went along and developed it to gain common understanding and buy-in. And that was really critically important. Then we developed a 5-year roadmap, and I'll share that with you shortly, and a blueprint to really guide us and to, again, make sure that all the stakeholders across our organization understood what we were doing and understood that this was a phased and stepped process. This isn't something that you just do and you finish and then you're done and you move on to the next thing. It's something that it's living and breathing and continues to grow over time. And then the biggest thing of that roadmap is being flexible and allowing yourself to revisit it and really forcing yourself to revisit it and reevaluate as you go and shifting on the fly. And that's where this entire process and developing these blueprints and these roadmaps are critically important for success as you move forward. So this is a vision. I mean, we had probably a 200-page strategy document, and this was the one page that really resonated with our leadership, with our board of directors. People got it, and so this is what we figured we'd share with you. But at the end of the day, when we talk about transforming what it means to be a museum, it's really in leveraging digital technology. It's really about storytelling, right? And then using technology to increase the reach of the stories that you're telling. And so at the bottom, this is kind of a chart that works from the bottom up. It's really all about content. And so we figured out how to operationalize or develop and operationalize a digitization operation. Within that digitization operation, there's a huge reliance on data and how that data flows to the different applications that you're building. And I think Sujal will touch on that a little bit in a few slides here. Then the next step that you have to figure out is, okay, how do you take those digital artifacts and how do you use those as building blocks, almost as Legos, to create experiences, to create digital content, to create educational products, to create potentially entertainment products. Then the top is, what do I need to build? What do I need to do to get those out into the world? And so that could be web, that could be mobile, that could be interactive kiosks. Again, it's not just digital for digital's sake, it's also digital to help enhance the guest experience that we have in the museum. The one thing I will say is we have 26 million artifacts in our collection. Artifacts like the Rosa Parks bus and the JFK limo and the Lincolnshire and the Dymaxion house. The reality is only 5% of those artifacts are available to the guest. The rest are in storage. And so what we can do is, one, provide context for people leveraging digital technology, which we're doing now with mobile app and other interactives. And we can also provide access to that other 25 million that are not available. And that's really what's exciting for us. So from the blueprint, we created a roadmap. And so you'll see the date here. We created the roadmap in 2013. And so let me first go through all the different projects here. So we knew we needed to focus on creating digital content. Creating content is not easy. And so we worked very hard to create an operation that their goal was to create digital content. And so that was something that was very difficult, and we're still working on and still figuring out as we go. But it's critically important and foundational to everything that we did. And that includes our digitization operation, which is an operation that runs every single day with automated operations that move data to where they need to where it needs to go to feed the experiences that it drives. We then built our first digital product, which was our digital collections web-based platform. We then rebuilt our website infrastructure, our website ecosystem, our user experience across all those sites, merged it into one and built it on a CMS, which is why we're here today. We also worked on a lot of physical and digital integrations within our venues when it comes to mobile apps, augmented reality, interactive touch tables, kiosks. We worked on a CRM. That was one of our main things, is a CRM integration with Microsoft Dynamics. We integrated a new e-commerce platform, and the educational content platform is something that Phil will talk about at the end, and that's where we're at today. I'm extremely proud to say that all of these were a vision in 2013, but I can say now today we are fulfilling every single one of these. But back to the point on the previous slide, it didn't actually go in the order we thought. So you'll see the dates. And so we had the plan, but the plan kind of morphed as we went through this. And some things we had to pull ahead and some things we had to delay. But at the end of the day, spending all that time up front, having everybody from leadership to the board and everyone, all our stakeholders on the same page with at least the vision, and then understanding the phases helped us be able to move some things around and almost move it around like a chessboard and deliver all of the things that we wanted to deliver. And then you'll see this is kind of like a visual of what we've been able to create. So again, digitization is at the middle. And when I say digitization, I mean digitization of the collection, but also the creation of digital content on an ongoing basis. And that has allowed us to then build these different or feed these different experiences. And so I'll work from top left around, but that's our digital collections platform where you can, as we digitize, we harvest the data and then it automatically runs and pushes to our digital collections platform. And so that as we digitize and we enter in the metadata, it pushes nightly to our digital collections platform and it's made available. And that's an operation that we work on daily. Digitization, digital content pushes and populates our network TV show that's on CBS, Henry Ford's Innovation Nation with Mo Rocca. Our digital collection feeds the digital content engine that creates web content like this What If about the Rosa Parks story and Rosa Parks bus. It feeds our social content that we push out. You'll see here with the football player, that's a motion-based way to search our collection that's made available to guests at the museum. That all features our digital collection. Bottom here, the interactive connections table is a pretty massive table that's made available to guests that can explore the connections in our table. That's populated by the collections data and again automated to push as we push new things. And then on the bottom left there is our mobile app that features different experiences, AR experiences, and self-guided mobile tours that we'll continue to build out as we go. Again, creating a scalable ecosystem that we can, one, deliver experiences to guests to make their visit more rich, but also to reach more people as we push out into the country and, quite frankly, the world. And then two, can we maintain it, right? We have pretty limited staff, and we have to build an ecosystem that we can maintain. And so those were our two focuses. I'll turn it over to you, Sujal.
Thanks, Matt. That was a good overview. And the implementation, as Matt said, like the vision was multi-year, and it had a lot of parts to it, and figuring out which part would go first. It's pretty complex, and planning was critical in this. And I think the leadership helped understand what was needed, identifying the right software, right partners where or softwares that were needed to address the critical needs of each of those stages was pretty important. And Phil, if you want to go and explain what our RFP process looked like, and I can explain the technology behind it.
Sounds good. So as Matt mentioned earlier, our team at Henry Ford is very small and nimble. And so we knew that we were going to have to rely on some key, strong partnerships to execute all of the visions that we had for our digital strategy. The first step was to find a digital agency through a robust RFP process, which was how we were introduced to Enqbator. And we selected them for their expertise with complex integrations and their content management skills. With Enqbator, we then did another RFP to find the right content management system for us. We knew it was going to have a really strong foundation, as well as be extremely scalable for all the different initiatives we had planned. Through that process, we selected Progress Sitefinity, as well as other cloud services, some of which are listed on this slide, but the most important being Amazon Web Services.
Thanks, Phil. And like any complex solution or any other major websites or highly trafficked websites, the foundation is very important. So we looked at what all things would be needed at the moment and also in the future, and understanding the scalability of what happens if we did this. Those kind of questions were put out, and it made right sense to move to a cloud-based infrastructure. So we moved to Amazon Web Services, and we've been on that platform for multiple years now, and it has allowed us to automatically scale and utilize several of the cloud services. For example, Matt had explained about the challenges with digitizing millions of artifacts. And with limited staff, we wanted to automate the process as much as possible so that they could concentrate on just the part of digitizing, and they would enter the information in one system, which is internal to the THF. But then we had to devise a logical solution which would look at that database, look at what has been touched, let's say today, and find out what those updates are. If new photographs were taken or new video or media was captured, we have to figure out how to move those elements into the cloud, but also resize them, refactor them wherever it is needed, because we have the entire foundation also involved, as Matt was explaining, the kiosk at the museum, the mobile app, and then the TV and all the other sources. And what happens is not a single video source or an image would fit all of them. So we had to optimize all of those. So we have a background system that automatically resizes and refactors these as things are introduced and puts them into the right places so that when you launch the same artifact in a mobile app, it knows the dimensions of the the picture that would be most optimal for your device so that it reduces the load time. So things like that. And we utilize a lot of services on Amazon Web Services. Matt also explained earlier about the challenges of multiple sites and not having a unified search service. So you would only get access to the information that's on that one specific site that you're on. So we started using the Elasticsearch capability and also the algorithms that search engines like Google use. to improvise that as well. So it didn't matter, where you were searching, you would find the right information and also the most relevant information. So I wouldn't just use the word-to-word matching, but also understand the context and then provide you those results. Because when you search for something in a database that has millions of records, chances are, you would get back hundreds of results back based on what you were searching for. So we have to understand the context of what the person is searching in and then automatically order them in that manner so that you would get the result that you want. So that was all the foundation work. And as part of that, we also did this in a staged approach, meaning it wasn't wise to invest a lot of money, from our client, which is the Henry Ford, initially, right? As you scale and as the needs arises, we have the system built in such a way that automatically expands as the system grows. So which was very critical, and I think it's one of the advantages of the cloud services, because you can pay as you grow and utilize those services. The other, there were, I would say, a lot of applications that we had to work on for what you see finally on the Henry Ford's website now. A lot of things are behind the scenes that help make that experience for you. And one of the critical applications that I want to talk about is the harvest process, which is what creates the digital collections and moves them around into the several of the mobile apps, website, and kiosks and other things. And the thing that was most critical was identifying out of the hundreds of fields that the database has to watch for everything. So the digital experts could be, or the artifact experts could be digitizing an existing record, which means that an existing artifact which was digitized before, but maybe now they're taking a few more pictures or editing content, or they could be digitizing new collections or new artifacts. So when that happens, this process has to automate to easily find out what was changed and only update that, rather than, because it's a complex process and we wanted to reduce the time that it takes to do that, meaning update the databases that the other publicly available systems were harvesting from. So it involved a lot of automation so that the right people knew what was being changed, the right approval processes so that they had a way of approving what goes. Maybe something is in the middle of being edited. So just because it has been edited and saved does not mean that it has to go to the website, those kind of things. So, it was definitely a very exciting project for us, and working as a team with Henry Ford allowed us to do all of this. And we're very excited for the future, which is the educational hub that we're working on.
Yeah, and I want to real quick, Sujal, if I could add, I want to double down on the harvest process. This is the foundation to really everything that we do, and so we spent a lot of time here. And I will say, a lot of times when you're working on digital transformation, people I want to see the mobile app, and I want to see the crazy interactive or whatever. And we stayed disciplined to say, let's spend our time on this, which isn't necessarily anything tangible that pushes anything out that you can all rally behind, but it is the backbone to everything that we do. And now, as we go and start to think about new things that we can do, it plugs in, right? Even if we're working with a third party, right, and we want to just plug into our data, we can do that. And so we've created a scalable ecosystem, and that was really what's enabled us to be successful and start to work on some of the things that we'll share with you in a moment. So I just want to double down on that. It may not have been the sexiest thing to focus on at first, but it was absolutely the most important thing.
So after doing those initiatives in re-architecture, we were able to accomplish many of the strategies that we had planned to do. And these are a few of those. So we'll walk you through a few. The first is the Innovation Project, which is a capital campaign microsite that launched in 2018. The Enqbator team helped us build out that site using Sitefinity, as well as integrate with our institutional advancements team's software for our donations, which is Blackbaud. Sujal mentioned earlier that we connected to Microsoft Dynamics with our CRM. We also launched in 2019 our first mobile app, which included a digital membership card so that members no longer needed to bring their physical card with them. They could scan using the app throughout their experience. It included mobile tours, which our curators put together so that could guide the guests through the museum and give them additional context for their visit. And also included some AI interactives, which a guest could do on-site or at home. This year, we recently launched a digital corporate membership program. So historically, we used physical cards for our corporate members. Then our corporate members would use those cards in a library checkout system with their employees. Due to the pandemic, there was a need to switch to digital. So the Enqbator team helped us build out a portal in which our corporate members can now create passes for their employees. And we can actually monitor the number of passes that are used internally. Sujal spoke to the digital harvest process earlier on the last slide, and then we'll dig into the in-hub project in a few slides here.
And if I could add here, biggest part of this was the selection of the Sitefinity CMS. We specialize in content management solutions, and we actually built one, in early 2000s. And by far, what attracted us towards the Sitefinity platform was the openness with the APIs. And so it's not just about building a website and making it beautiful, but also making it more functional. Which is what Sitefinity allowed us to do. We could utilize those APIs, and Phil went through this list of a few of the applications that are critical or the milestones that were achieved. But all of this was achievable because of those APIs, because we could easily repurpose content that was already available or centralize the content in Sitefinity CMS, and then from there utilize that in a headless manner in all of these different solutions. So Blackbaud, as we all know, is a financial system, and we were able to utilize the APIs on either end to be able to seamlessly make the experience for the donors to be able to donate money towards campaigns, and also excited about the educational hub platform that Phil is going to talk about next.
The other thing I will add to Sujal and Phil is that with the Sitefinity CMS, as you can see, one of the things I said early on is our ecosystem was impossible to maintain. Well, you can see we've added stuff over the years, right? We've added sites to manage, and we've been able to a lot more efficiently manage what we've put out there because of the Sitefinity CMS, and so much so that we pretty much have filled the same staff levels, but we've added so much and we're still able to maintain it. And so I think that's a huge win for us because we couldn't maintain what we had before with the staff we had. So success metrics wise, our digital transformation has absolutely paid dividends. And so we're just highlighting 4 stats, but it's just been an honor to watch the work that the team has done, both the Enqbator team and the THF team, who really work as one, drive really tangible results as a result of the work. And so you'll see, I'll share these 4, but the first one on the left there is, and that's a real number, our digital artifact page views. So when we talk digital artifact page views, we're talking about traffic to our digital collections platform, people that are visiting and engaging with our digitized collection. But that engagement has increased over 1,400%. And these metrics are basically 2015 to 2020 growth year-over-year periods. So, I will say the numbers. It went from 45,000 in 2015, so not a ton of engagement, but in 2020 we reached almost 700,000 page views of our views of our digital artifacts. So that's tremendous and tangible growth. As a result of this increased engagement with our brand, with our site, we saw in customer experience enhancements, both on the site and in the e-commerce flow. We've seen a 37% increase in e-commerce revenue. So again, tangible results. As a result of the work and us pushing content out, both we're seeing organic benefit and just benefits in general, increase of 28% in website visits. And I think what I'm most proud about is, again, one of our main goals of this transformation was change what it means to be a museum. And museums have typically been in their 4 walls. And our goal of pushing out is we've seen an 84% increase in international visits to our website. And so again, digital transformation in the museum sector pays dividends because it pushes your mission out to places that never would have engaged with you prior. And so we are really encouraged by these. By no stretch are we done. We have many more. We have visions and goals and projects, and we're excited to continue this momentum forward. But happy to share these metrics with you.
Yeah, and a lot of technology went in to achieve this as well. Like Matt mentioned, organic traffic was critical in increasing that. And being a Henry Ford Museum website, it already received a lot of traffic. So 28% or 37% in the middle may sound, it's still very high, but you're talking about in millions of visits and then increasing by 28% of that big number, which is huge. And it was possible because we could apply schemas, a lot of technologies that were available to us, either for Google or other search engines that made us expose that content more efficiently so that the search engines can grab that data and properly index our site.
Yeah, I would say organic search has been huge, I will say. I mean, when you think about when we harvest a collection item, that becomes a searchable page on the website. And so we have well over 100,000 artifacts out there. So you're pushing content, we're pushing content out in an automated way almost every day, right? And so that has really, and that's where the digital artifact page is. That's why that number is so high, because there's a strategy behind it, is pushing these artifacts out that we're digitizing every single day is paying dividends.
So the most recent project we've been working on that will be launching very soon is our InHub website. So over the last decade, our learning and engagement team has been working on putting together an innovation learning framework, which includes multiple curriculum resources and professional development for educators. So over the past year, we've spent time pulling all of those products together under a new brand called InHub and building out a website and platform for educators to engage with those items on. The project has included redoing our front-end website pages for our educators, using Sitefinity to create new, nimble and flexible templates for our team to manage, and also creating a new, fully accessible user experience for educators. It also includes a single sign-on dashboard platform that integrates with our payment processor Stripe for memberships, as well as integrates with our third-party learning management system through Amesite to launch and register courses for professional development, access our curriculum resources, and our digital assets library for educators. In addition to that, we also have a premier product of InHub, which is our Invention Convention Worldwide program, which is a network of global affiliates who host invention convention competitions in their states and countries. So we're helping our affiliates by offering them microsite templates to better communicate their local competitions and programs that they offer.
One thing I'll add, thank you, Phil, is earlier on when I showed you the roadmap, this circle said educational content platform. In 2013, we put that, but we had no idea what it was going to be. And so this just shows, that, and that was 2013. We basically started this project, Phil, in early 2020, right? Yeah. And so, again, I got to double down on the vision is so important because it will guide. It'll guide you there. You may not know everything, but it will guide you there. And we've got to this point. We're really excited about this. It is a product for educators. It's tangible, and it's all based on our artifacts, our collections, our stories, and that digital content operation that we've created. Just focused to impact educators, impact students. So I will say InHub is a huge goal of ours. That's the next step. I would say that's honestly, now we've figured out this content operation. Have we perfected it? No, we're going to continue to work on that. We have the harvest process. We're going to continue looking at how do we transform the physical experience at the Henry Ford? How do we provide continue to provide more and more context to make the visit more rich, almost like you have a curator in your pocket as you go around and learn more about what you're seeing. And I think too, it's how do we continue to push our content out at scale? And so I think we're figuring out right now, and InHub is the first example, how do we potentially monetize our content, right? We're not a for-profit, but how do we monetize it to then reinvest in this content creation operation? InHub's the first of that. That's the first test. It's a membership base. That membership revenue will come back to us and into the form of reinvesting and creating these game-changing educational experiences. How do we do that for the general audience? We're testing streaming right now, and what can we do with streaming and streaming services? And so that really is the next step in our evolution. And of course, reinvesting and continue to reinvest in our infrastructure. I think, like I said before, doubling down, like that harvest process, everything we did with Enqbator, with AWS, obviously with Sitefinity and the CMS, those things you can't ever take your eye off of, and that will continue to be a focus as we continue to build out the future. Thank you for your time, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, we'd like to give a big thanks to Matt, Sujal, and Filomena for all the great information. At this time, we're lucky to have Sujal Raju from Enqbator and Matt Majeski of the Henry Ford here with us to answer a couple questions. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Jada Montenegro of the Enqbator marketing team to help out with our questions for both Matt and Sujal. Jada?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. So I'll just go over one or two questions with you guys. So one of the ones that we have in says, you seem to have a really robust digital products. So in today's current environment, is slowness or security ever an issue?
Okay, so slowness and security is one of the, I would say the top factors that we look at constantly. It's not a one-time thing. And the reason for that is, website or anything that you put out there digitally is a living and a breathing thing, which means that changes do happen to them. And when that happens, it's possible that those parameters cause something to become slower. So we constantly look at it, and it's one of the KPIs that we measure, the technical team does, and improvises it. A part of it is also reasons, the part of the reason is also because of all the patches that the Microsoft operating system or the cloud services might do. So we want to take advantage of the new enhancements, which would help out increase the speed wherever possible. Security is the same, I would say, in the same container as well, in the sense like, it's a top priority for us to make sure that we are constantly looking for any threats, either due to some, vulnerability that was discovered recently, or any new techniques that someone out there is utilizing to make sure that it would penetrate the our secure network. So we constantly look at those things, and I think those are the top parameters for anyone who is building any content online, and ensure proper tools are over there for allowing, or I was saying, blocking deep penetration or DOS attacks, or using CAPTCHA on forms, and there are several techniques that need to be followed.
Yeah, great answer. Thanks, Sujal. So the next question that I have in, it says, at our organization, it is challenging to get buy-in for web initiatives. So how do you identify which groups need to weigh in and which departments were they? Or how did you identify?
I would say it's different, to answer that question. It's different for every organization. I know for ours, we had to include a pretty cross-functional group because the transformation, any digital transformation, any transformation in general, really needs to be across the organization. And I think another lesson learned for us is digital transformation is as much a cultural transformation as technology. So the more the merrier, I would say, which sometimes makes it harder, but that's where vision comes into play. And I think really taking the time, we gave ourselves time. I think I said in the presentation, we gave ourselves almost a year to set a vision and to really spend time socializing it and making sure that people understood it as much as they needed to, so that we were all on the same page as we moved forward. I think the investment in that step of the process paid dividends for us. It does create more work, but I think it's really, really important work. And again, like I said, we set the vision, and the vision changed and morphed, and we communicated that along the way as well. But having that foundation was really important.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. Thanks, Matt.
Yep.
I'll turn it back over to Dave now. I think he has a couple questions or discussion things for you guys too.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Thanks, Jada. Well, we can stay with you, Matt. You mentioned you spoke about your vision and plan to roll out all the phases of what you wanted to accomplish in the presentation. Just how much of a challenge was that process for you guys, and how more specifically, maybe how challenging was it when you needed to adapt or rearrange those phases in your plan?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it is challenging. It's because you are bringing people along, and so while you're bringing people along, it is a challenge, right? It creates a little more effort required to do what you need to do. But I think at the end of the day, it also provides you a clean runway once you've gone through that process to execute what you need to execute. Then, if you do it that way, when things change, it's a lot easier to navigate with the appropriate parties because they have a shared foundation and a shared understanding of what's happening and what you're trying to accomplish. And so, it's a great question. And I would double down on vision and taking the time to share the vision across the institution or across the organization, because digital transformation is cultural transformation, and I think it's critically important.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. And then Sujal, one quick question for you. Obviously, both teams, the team at Enqbator and the Henry Ford, needed to adapt quickly, as I mentioned earlier. Kind of adapt on the fly as priorities may have changed, and also work together closely in coming up with different solutions. How exciting was it for you personally, and for the Enqbator team to be able to work on such a challenging and rewarding project, something on this scale?
I would say, just even partnering with the Henry Ford Museum, which is quite reputed brand here in Michigan, and for what they do, right, for education and for all that they have to provide. So you're definitely excited for that reason. But the other reason is also the challenges that they had. It's pretty, I would say, complex systems that they have in place. And also the amount of data that they have that they produce is also large. So the idea of, providing data in a streamlined way that could be repurposed and reused across multiple platforms, not just the ones that they wanted to accomplish, let's say at that moment, but also in future. So keeping that in mind. So it was definitely very exciting. And, it was great to work as an extension of their team. So the communication was much easier because of that, in terms of how quickly we could. So giving examples of let's say if we had to process the artifacts and provide that information in a certain format, if there was a newer format available, or maybe there was another software that we could utilize to make it more enhanced for easy distribution and consumption of that data. We could hop on a quick call with the marketing team, or have a quick webinar and describe what that is and what our thoughts are. And like Matt said, because the vision was communicated already, if we had to make any tweaks or adapt to new technology, it made it a little bit more easier to do that. And we could do that, run some preliminary tests. And if everything checked out, then we would, implement that. So I would say, like, integrating with complex applications and providing a streamlined data source for future, not just for what was needed right now. It's a multi-year vision. So we have to make sure that, whatever the end goal is, even for the last, item on the vision, that it is going to be, I would say easily, the format would be easy for that adoption as well, for that last vision. So throughout the process, we were constantly challenged with new things, and I think that's what our team likes the most. And we are glad that with a few years already down from when we started, things are going great, and we're being recognized for the work that's been done.
All right, thanks, Sujal. And then Matt, just to wrap up, one last thought with you. And obviously, you mentioned there's so many millions of artifacts there that you're working with, and a small percentage you're able to put out there.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a huge challenge. But the one thing I was going to ask was, you touched on so many great solutions and projects that were put in place, and obviously, you're dealing with such history, such American history there. Was there one thing that to you and your team was the most rewarding?
I tell this story a lot. I mean, I think this is experience. We're able to see this physically because it happened at the museum, but what we think of is that happening as we expose more people outside of the four walls to our stories and our artifacts. But one of the greatest things that we've experienced in this process was we were doing some work on the museum floor. I think it was like projection mapping prototypes or something. And we had a kid come up, and you just saw the process where he saw it, stopped, eyes open wide, said something like, "Oh my gosh, I get it." Like, and just to see that the work that you're doing impact a child like that, and connecting a dot or understanding something, it's extremely rewarding. And that's kind of what motivates us is, can we do that at scale outside of the physical experience, right? And as we add artifacts on a daily basis, as we tell stories, as we push this out, I keep that kid in mind. So, yeah.
Great story. Well, that wraps it up for today. We'd like to give a big thanks to Sujal from Enqbator and Matt from the Henry Ford, and also Filomena for all the great information. Thanks again to everyone involved in today's Think Tank webinar, and especially once again to Matt and Filomena from the Henry Ford. Thanks again mostly to you all for watching our webinar today. We will have a recorded version sent out to everyone who attended, and we hope to see you on our next Think Tank webinar. Thanks and have a great day.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.